What's the difference between a good DM and a great DM?
Presentation!
Mike Wheeler is a good DM. His players have fun, they cheer and laugh, and seem to have a generally great time. He communicates the game effectively to make dice rolls dramatic and pulls players in. But then he starts to experience some paranormal activity. You know, the kind of stuff that happens when you grow up. A girl sweeps him off his feet. He gets himself a new father figure. He realizes there's things he knows that supposed adults don't know for some reason. And now he's got responsibilities. And suddenly, the game just isn't hidden anymore. It is just a game, after all. Why should it matter? But the friend group starts falling apart. Will Byers wants nothing more than to keep playing because he misses the group, and for other reasons. But the boys aren't interested in D&D anymore. They've got girls and school and new hobbies. But then why do they get sucked into the Hellfire Club? It's because of Eddie Munson. Mike was a good DM, but Eddie is a great DM. Why is that? What makes him so good that the players suddenly want to play again? Welcome to Mystic Arts, where I can't believe I'm filming this episode instead of watching Stranger Things right now! My name is Daði, I'm a professional writer and director. I've been DMing for over 10 years. What sets Eddie apart? Well, there is the fact that he's older than the boys. We'll put a pin in that right here and visit it later in the video. But as a DM, what makes him different from Mike? Both good DMs, but Eddie's skills behind the screen reignite his players' love of the game. How? Well, it's because Eddie is a showman. He is unafraid to be ridiculous. That iconic bow and smile that they put on the cover of the Hellfire box set, I remember seeing that in show on release and thinking, wow, that's kind of over the top. I even thought it to be a little... But you know what? That doesn't matter, because the players are hooked. Who cares what I think? I mean, obviously they're hooked because it's in the script that they're hooked. When he says the thing and he does the thing and they're all like, wow. But how often have I made an absolute fool of myself doing something cringe to make my players laugh or just set them free? Free them from the burden of remembering that we aren't elves and wizards. We're actually just a bunch of Icelandic nerds in a living room. Free them from the burden of feeling like they're being weird. I mean, we are being weird, but we don't have to be so aware of it. So I make sure I'm the strangest person in the room. I move oddly, I gesticulate wildly, I talk in tongues, and I make up nonsense. I put on a show. Being the DM is like being the showman. You are P.T. Barnum in that Hugh Jackman movie with all the singing. Your job is to sell the tickets, make the audience fall in love, and cue up your co-stars with plenty of pomp and circumstance. But for you, the audience you hook in and the co-stars you queue up are the same group of people. They're your players. They're both your fans and your theater troupe. And in return, you're their theater troupe and their fan. But the DM is kind of like the band's lead singer or the movie's director. Or if you're into sports, the DM is the team captain. They set the standard of how weird and how out there we play. So if you want to hook your players, and you want them to hook each other into the game, you, the DM, put on a show and make sure to give everyone implicit permission to also be a showman. So what does being a showman in this context mean? Do I mean do a voice for your character? No. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but you don't have to, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about going the extra mile in strange ways that make the players feel like you, the DM, has somehow everything under control, even when we all know that's impossible. You make them say, you had that prepared the whole time? You make them feel like you're some kind of wizard. In Found and Lost, the 26th episode of the Mighty Nine campaign on Critical Role, the players described to Matt an ideal ambush location, and he went into the back and pulled out a map. And their minds were blown.
But you can't know the map because we just came up with this ambush plan tonight.
I have multiple maps prepared depending on where things happen.
That's a good answer. But when Matt does bring the map to the table, he quickly moves everything around on the board behind the screen while the players are engaged in tabletop. Then afterwards, he busts out the map like he just had it as one of his multiple scenarios. I mean, he makes no secret of the fact that he adjusts it, but he doesn't announce it. I think a better trick would have been to do that adjustment away from the table wherever his maps are stored, but he got away with it scot-free. I find great joy in doing that kind of thing, in finding the right minis and maps beforehand and then busting them out when the players go to those locations and watch their minds be blown that you knew they'd go there, even if it was optional. I remember finding a Neothalid mini and keeping it secret from my players, delving into the GSS Centurion in my outer space-esque Spelljammer-like adventure. When they entered the boss room, I described a mind flayer, the control panels of a spaceship, and then I simply turned around, picked up this mini that I'd been hiding away, and I plopped it on the table and said, "Oh, and this big worm is also here." Their reactions were priceless. Quick aside to say, I just love the idea of mixing fantasy and sci-fi. Fantasy outer space is an awesome concept, and I made an adventure about just that. I know there are official D&D settings and books that promise to do this, and they missed the mark. But what makes this such an amazing hobby is that anyone can add on to it. Like Lodestar, the sponsor of today's video. It's got all the things you expect from Outer Space 5e, species, classes, a huge bestiary, and a 250-page sourcebook. But it's also got a thing we all thought was going to be in an official sourcebook for Outer Space D&D. Lodestar actually has an original and comprehensive system for ship combat and management out in the seas of space. Climb aboard and take to the stars in your own silt-sailed scum runner with easy-to-run rules and a cargo hold full of customization options. Go back Lodestar on BackerKit and support the two-man team behind this incredible labor of love. Use the link below so they know who sent you. Sometimes I do my showmanship with stuff like character art, with finding the right pieces beforehand, or with audio cues, by creating a sound effect or a music stinger. I remember when Maeve the Ranger first fought a Wendigo. I started by picking a quiet music track and brought the lights in the room all the way down, and then I talked real quietly. And when you could have heard a pin drop, I played this. A sound I made for the explicit purpose of eliciting an emotion. I also did this when we were playing Storm King's Thunder, a traditional fantasy adventure against giants. Only in that session, they saw an army of giants charging at my players, and then I described a unit of men in purple coats with brown sticks, and they pointed at the giants, and I play... And that's how my players were suddenly introduced to firearms in my setting. Or in the finale of our Odyssey of the Dragonlords game, we were the Oracle's Chosen. We were fighting Sidon, the Babeeg, and we reduced him to 0 hit points. And at that point, the DM Magnus stood up, described the final attack as the Paladin's dragon mount was laying into Sidon. Magnus walked over to the mini, clearly about to describe the start of what we all assumed to be a mythic phase, a second phase of the boss fight, and he vividly described how the dragon tore off Sidon's wings. So in front of everybody at the table, Magnus snapped the wings off the mini, and we were f***ing shaken. But they were push-fit wings, so they weren't glued in. He had placed the wings into the push-fit slots of the mini, and kept them there until this moment, when he revealed the mythic phase, ready to shock us with this moment when it came. Not railroading or anything, any attack could have reduced Sidon to 0 hit points and triggered the mythic phase, and he just designed the mythic phase to have no fly speed. But whatever activated the mythic phase would have torn a wing off. And I'll never forget that. At that moment, Magnus, the DM, was a wizard, and he knew everything, and we were in awe of him. The easiest way to be the showman is by projecting confidence, standing up, enunciating your words, speaking clearly, smiling and laughing and relaxing. You just become that P.T. Barnum character. You put on a show and dance. I literally dance. When combat's running and it's fun, I bob to the music. I'm not good at dancing. I've got those toddler butt bounce moves. The dancing isn't the show, but it means I'm having fun, which invites others to have fun. When your players get good damage, cheer them on. When they finish their turn, summarize it with a description. When you play an NPC, use body language. I stand up for tall characters, or I squat in the chair for goblins. I use props like pipes and glasses and whatever else I can get my hands on. I act like a fool. Did you know that I used to do close-up magic? Like card tricks, cold read, sleight of hand, card forces, all that stuff. I got obsessed with it as a kid. I loved going to magic shops and buying new tricks, learning them, changing them, just having fun. I'm the kind of person that picks up a new hobby every year, but I was always so deflated when I learned a new trick. I tell my dad, who supported me through my most recent obsession, that this trick I just learned was simple and dumb, and that everyone would be able to see through it when I try to pull it off. That really, it was just one sleight of hand trick and one cold read, and that was about it. And he'd always say, it's simple once you know it, because it was. Once you know the trick, then you understand that it's just a trick. But before you knew the trick, it was magic. I think that idea has a lot to do with why I'm on YouTube now. I want to show you the magic trick and reveal how the mystic arts of DMing aren't all that complicated. It's just a couple of simple tricks. It looks complicated from the other side of the screen, but it's simple once you know it. The reason that phrase he said resonated with me so much is because the magic trick isn't the magic trick. The real magic is the magician's insistence that it is actually magic. If you watch a talented magician on stage, they never mumble their way through their whole set about how simple it really is. They don't say, oh, it's nothing, oh, whatever. They put on a show, and sometimes the show is mumbling through and spoiling the trick and fumbling around. And then, in an excellent swing of showmanship, they reveal that the mumbling was an act, and they didn't spoil the trick, that there was a trick beyond that trick, and they convince you that magic is real, and you better stop analyzing it. Just come along and believe. But that is the real trick those magicians are pulling. The simplest trick they ever pull, but it's the most important one. It's false confidence. So, be like Eddie. Be a showman. Twirl your hands and grin like you've got it all figured out. Invite them to challenge you. Pretend like you know everything. Like you've got 14 plans depending on what they're gonna do next. Even if you're just gonna wait and see what option they pick and then plan that one. When you accidentally give them a peek behind the curtain at how unprepared you were, make sure to immediately hit them with something you have prepared to reinstate the illusion of the magic. It's those 2 lessons Q gave Bond in his last outing. First, never let them see you bleed.
And the second?
Always have an escape plan.
But all that brings us to this pin I left a few minutes ago. Eddie is older than the boys. He's cooler. He's got it all figured out. That's who Eddie is. A punk. He's so above it all. He doesn't care about looking like a nerd or a punk or whatever nonsense. He is who he is. And when you're a kid, that's appealing. That's what being cool is. Hell, when you're an adult, that's what being cool is. You're comfortable enough to just be in your own skin and be you. Eddie is mature. But it also brings us to what the show is about. Because when you look up the synopsis of Stranger Things, it says that it's a mystery show following a group of kids in Hawkins, Indiana who get involved in a mystery involving secret government experiments, supernatural forces, and a girl with telekinetic powers named 11. But that's not what the show is about. That's the premise. But every piece of art worth a damn tells us something about what it means to be human, or something about what it means to be alive today. And great art does both. So what is Stranger Things about? Well, I said it in the beginning of the video. It's about growing up. All that paranormal stuff comes with growing up. In case you never realized what Stranger Things is about, it's about growing up. Kids struggling with becoming adults, realizing that the world isn't as simple as they thought it was, and realizing that adults sometimes don't understand that truth either. It's about teenagers who bully others to feel superior, and they need to grow up, because being a grown-up means treating others with love and respect. It's about adults who never grew up, and how their responses to crises are childish, how they resort to vices like drinking, smoking, or bullying to run away from their inadequacies. It is about the corruption that comes with learning about the world's darker hues, and how they can twist your mind into a black and white morality, when that in and of itself is a child's way of viewing the world. Growth happens when characters face their fears. It's a brilliant show, and I can't wait to see how it ends. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend. The number you have dialed is not answer at the moment.
No, it was 11. I typed 11.
Oh. If you want to support us directly, consider joining our Patreon, where we just released our zine. That means digital magazine. It's called the Broadsheet. You get a setting and adventure, magic items, and stat blocks. It's a 57-page document with everything you need to start playing D&D in my world. And if you're feeling especially generous, you might like the video, comment, share, or subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.